So now we will see certain important areas from the chapter internal audit. Yes. So internal audit. Before we step into the main pointers with regard to this, firstly we will discuss about the key aspect, which is about the limit. So for which companies and all the function of internal audit is applicable. Let us see. So as per section 138 of the Companies Act read with rule 13, it tells that internal audit is required for listed company and for unlisted public companies with which satisfies the following any of the following criteria, which is deposits of more than or equal to 25 crore at any time, or paid up share capital of more than or equal to 50 crore, borrowings of more than 100 crore at any time, and turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore during the preceding financial year. But in case of private company, so what we saw was for unlisted public company, and in case of private company the limit is as follows: borrowings of more than 100 crore and turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore. Alright, so this is how it is set for the criteria, and any company which is satisfying this shall within 6 months of the commencement they shall comply with the provisions of it, which is that they should appoint the internal auditor. So who can be an internal auditor? Anyone can be an internal auditor. So uh, even a CA, CA, CMA, or anyone can be internal auditor, but the board decides that they need only a particular qualification, then they can fix like that also. That is also possible. Now moving on to the responsibility of the internal auditor with respect to accounting function and the financial records of the organization. So what and all he should see, let us see. So firstly, internal auditor, so he should check the adequacy of the system of internal control. He should see if it is adequate or not. The adequacy of the system of internal control by a continuous examination of accounting procedure, receipts disbursement, and also to provide safeguard against misappropriation of assets. So he should ascertain the adequacy of the system of the internal control. Then he should operate independently of the accounting staff and must not in any way divest any of the responsibilities placed upon him. So firstly he should ascertain if the internal control system is adequate, then he should be independent, okay, and not to involve in the performance of any executive function, and to observe the facts and situation and bring them to the notice of the authority, not closely associate with the management and keep up to date, but he should enjoy the independent status at all times. So we will see it one more time. So I'm also an internal auditor in a company. I'll tell you with a story with regard to that. So firstly, my role is to ascertain the adequacy of the internal control system. Then I have a cabin which is in between the MD room and the other staff room. So I should be independent of the accounting staff. So my room is separate from them. Then I should not involve in the performance of the executive function. So that also I should not do. So they have kept me in a separate room. I will be independent of the accounting also, and I will not be involved in the performance of the executive function also. But there is a glass mirror between these two cabinets. So I will observe the fact from this side and bring to the notice of the authority. Both the sides have glass mirror, so I'll observe the facts from this side and I'll bring to the notice of the authority. To associate closely with the management and keep knowledge up to date. So I will see this side also what the management is doing, and I will also keep my knowledge up to date. But at all times I'll be sitting in that separate room alone. So at all times I'll be having that independent status. Alright, fine, 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 fine. Okay, next, moving on. What are the approach that the internal auditor should undertake to prepare the internal plan? So how the internal audit is to be done, right? To make sure it is adequate and balanced. So it should be covering both the financial and the operating activities that we know, but how it should be done. So what should be the cover? Okay, cover, the mnemonic here is cover. Okay, so first, coverage, So that is CO. V is value. E is effort. R is risk. So cover. So coverage, value, effort, and risk. So coverage. So coverage of the auditable areas within the defined time range. So what audit sectors will we cover? Then the risk appetite of the organization. So how much risk that they can manage. So the risk appetite of the organization. So coverage of the auditable areas, the risk appetite of the organization. Next, about the efforts involved in conducting the internal audit for a particular business process. So coverage, value. So what value you can provide, what effort is required for that, what is the risk underlying, and what is the risk appetite of the business organization. Okay, now moving on to the next question. So we know that the internal auditor has a lot of areas to see, but regard to the organization structure, to ensure that it is in harmony with the objective of the entity, what and all he will check. Okay, so beyond financial transactions and the operational activities, he will have to see a few things. So what and all he will check? So firstly, he will review the organizational structure. So what he will see? He will see if the activities, he should review the manner in which the activities of the enterprise or group. So he will see how the grouping is done. He will see how the grouping is done. He will review the manner in which the activities of the enterprises are grouped. The internal auditor should examine the organization chart. So he'll also check the organizational chart. In that, from that he will find out whether the structure is simple and economical, and that no function enjoys an undue dominance over the other. So he will see how the activities are grouped. Next, he will examine the organization chart. So every grouping and chart. Then next, he will see inside the chart the responsibilities of the managerial staff and the headquarters do not overlap with those of the chief executives at the operation unit. So for every segment, we'll have and manager also. Then there will be someone at the chief executive position also. So their responsibilities should not overlap. Then examine the reasonableness of span of control. So below them how many people are there, so we should check if it is sufficient or not. Examine the reasonableness of the span of control. Dual responsibility should be avoided. So two people having two people, one thing being under the control of two people should be avoided. So dual responsibility should be avoided. Then process of managerial development should also be checked, as it is vital for the growth. So when we talk about the organization structure, first we will see how it is grouped. Then we will see the organizational chart. Then we will see the responsibility of the managerial staff or the headquarters and the chief executive at the operation unit do not overlap. Okay, then they will be fighting. Then so that should not overlap. Then there should be a reasonable span of control. The dual responsibility should be avoided. And we should also see how the process of managerial development is fixed. So this is about the organization structure. Then about the review of utilization of resources. So he should see how the resources are utilized. The internal auditor should check whether proper operating standards and norms have been established. So proper standards and norms should be there, they are telling. Okay, proper standards and norms should be there for how effectively and economically they are utilizing it. So proper standards and norms should be there to check how effectively and economically they are utilizing it. And this should be detailed enough. Okay, so this norms and standards should be detailed so that we can to be identifiable with the specific operating responsibility. So from this itself we'll be able to see the next people things and tell how detailed enough it is there. Okay, it should be detailed enough to be identifiable with the specific operating responsibility, and should be capable of being used by operating personnel to monitor and evaluate their performance. So it should be detailed enough to identify the specific operating responsibility, and should review the methods of establishing operating standards and norms. So we as internal auditor should also review how the operating responsibilities and norms are set. So that also we should review. Then where there is a wide divergence between the actual performance and the corresponding standards, the reason is to be considered. So if there is a difference, we should see why, what, like that we should check. So firstly, we should check if there is proper operating standards and norms. Next, it should be detailed enough. Next, we should review the methods of, so we should see how they are establishing those standards and norms, and if there is any wide divergence, we should look into the reasons as to why it is like that. So this is about the review of utilization of resources. Now we'll go into the yet another important aspects, steps the internal auditor should take to identify the gaps. Okay, so why is there a difference between what is the expected and the actual results, and what we will do, what the internal auditor should do. So what are the steps the internal auditor should take? So firstly what he will do, he will obtain a knowledge of the business and its environment. So firstly is to understand about the business and its environment. For that, what he will do, he will conduct the meeting with the stakeholders, board of directors, key managerial person, and he will also obtain an understanding of the organization's business environment and its operation. So firstly he will conduct meetings with everyone. Next, the internal auditor must obtain understanding of various business documents. So he should understand about the various business documents, about the standard operating procedures, financial statements. So everything he should understand about it. So first he will meet, then he will understand about the business document. Then he should also obtain an understanding of the regulatory landscape and the various laws and regulation. Okay, so we'll understand the documents, then we'll also see what laws are applicable for them. Everything we will see. So this is about obtaining the knowledge of the business and its environment. Step 2, perform audit planning. So we have understood it. Now we will do the planning for the audit. So how we will do that? First, plan the audit engagement as per the standards on internal audit. So we will follow SIA 310. Okay, so we will see SIA 310. And audit scope, this must be approved by the audit committee and the board of directors. So we will also see the outside standards, inside standards. So first we will see SA 310. Next we will also see about what the audit committee and the board of directors tell. Once approved, this detailed plan will be shared with the key managerial personnel. Then we will also conduct a meeting with the key stakeholders before the start of the engagement and share the details of the information and system access required. Detailed work plan must be prepared by the audit managers and approved with the head of internal audit or chief internal auditor. The work plan must be prepared after performing the evaluation of all major underlying risks. So firstly we'll prepare the engagement plan. Next, that we will also get it approved by the audit committee and the board of directors. So that we will engagement plan be prepared as per SIA 310. Then the scope will be approved by the audit committee and the board of directors. So this we will also share with the KMPs, and we will also go and meet the key stakeholders. Then to them also we will share the details of what and all information system access that we require. Okay, then the detailed work plan will be prepared by the audit managers and approved by the head of internal audit or the chief internal auditor. So see how many levels of permission that we need. So SIA 310, next about the audit committee or the board of directors, next we will share it with the KMP, next we will meet with the key stakeholders, then we will get the permission for information and system access, then it will be approved by the head of internal audit or the chief internal auditor. After that, the work plan will be prepared after evaluating all the major risks. So this is about the performing the audit planning. Okay, next that is step 2. Moving on to step 3, gather the required information. So we need the audit evidences and everything. So for that purpose, we are going to gather the required information. The internal auditor must obtain the required information and perform checks to ensure correctness and integrity of the information received. So we will gather the information and we will obtain the required information and we will see if it is correct and complete. Then maximum possible we should get the information from the direct sources. Then adequate planning is to be done and advance intimation should also be made for any interim information needed. If at all we need any interim information, we should send advance intimation for that same purpose. So this is about gathering the information. So we should gather the information and we should also check if it is correct, complete, accurate. But as far as possible, we will have to get it from the direct sources. Then planning we will do on that. Step 4. Perform audit check. The internal auditor should collect all data and perform analytical procedures to identify key trend and outliners. So based on the data, we'll perform the analytical procedures. So starting with our auditor's work. So we'll perform the analytical procedures to identify what key trends are there. So everything we will do. Whenever needed, the internal auditor must select the sample in accordance with the standards of internal audit 5 sampling. The internal auditor must ensure adequate evidence must be collected and stored in accordance with the SIA 320. Then if there is any audit issue or control gap, then that list we'll have to prepare. Then we will issue the review report. Document of the internal audit work paper is also to be done. So we will go step by step. So firstly, we will collect the data. Then on that, we will perform the analytical procedure. When we perform the analytical procedure itself, we will know what key trends are there. Okay. Then on the data, we are performing the analytical procedure to identify the key trends. That can also be done by selecting the sample. Okay, selection of the sample. Then whatever evidence you are going to collect, that should be properly stored also. Okay, so all these things you are doing the key trends also. Then if you are seeing any gap, that should also be maintained in a detailed list. Then interim report should also be issued. Then adequate documentation of the internal audit work paper is also to be done. Okay, so this is about step 4 of performing the audit check. Then step 5, reporting of internal audit. The internal audit must prepare a draft report of internal audit issue comprising of the business. So firstly we will prepare a draft issue. Then so what and all we will include in the draft issue: scope, coverage, what and all is not covered, exclusions, what period is covered, summary we will perform. Then management action plan should be agreed along with the responsibility of the action and the timeliness for the action. Then the internal auditor should therefore circulate the final audit report and the presentation of his findings as per SIA 360 and SIA 370. So interim audit draft report also we will prepare, and then the final audit report also we will share. Okay, so that is given in another question. So we have reporting in 2 stages. So at the end of a particular assignment, okay, so at the end of the particular assignment, so covering the specific area function, so for what and all we will give. So we will highlight what and all we found out, and the details, how we conducted the audit. Okay, and any key findings, all these things will be included in that final audit, which is the internal audit report. That is at the end of the particular audit assignment, highlighting the key observations, highlighting the key observations or the end of the particular audit assignment. Next, on a periodic basis also we can do. So that will be at the close of a plan period. So periodically at a plan period. Then this is the plan covering both the covering activity, a comprehensive report of all the internal audit activities covering the entirety, and the plan period is prepared by the chief internal auditor. It is prepared by the chief internal auditor or the engagement partner. So it could be quarterly basis and it will be submitted to the governing authority, generally the audit committee. Fine. So typically the internal audit report will have the following things: scope, period, summary, what are the critical finding, detailed audit finding, rating of the highlighted area, audit recommendation, what response they have received. So all these things will be included in the typical internal audit report. Now let's have a 1 minute water break and then we will keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward. So now we told that we have certain reports also. So similarly we have something called as a action taken report. So what is an action taken report? In the previous period, what are the issues that was identified? So report reference to the previous audit reporting containing what are the issues there. Then on the basis of that, what action was agreed by the management? So in the previous period, what was the reported issue? On the basis of that, what was the action agreed by the management, and what implementation date? So what action they are agreeing to take, and what is that implementation date that they have fixed for the same? Then what is the status of the action taken by the management? So how much they have done? So they told they'll do something, no? So what and all they have done? The same may be classified under implemented or not implemented. So what previously in the previous auditing report, what issues were reported? Now what is the action which is agreed by the management? Then what is the status of the action taken by the management? What is the action which is agreed by the management, and what is the target implementation date? What is the status of it? Next, what is the residual risk and rating? If anything is not implemented, then what is that? Then critical audit finding that require immediate action. So immediate action is anything required to be done or not. So these are to be considered in the action taken report. Fine. Then we will see with regard to that audit trail. So with what are the list of internal control which are required to be implemented and operated with regard to that audit trail on the all the edit log? So we should ensure that the audit trail feature has not been disabled or deactivated. Then so controls to ensure that user IDs are assigned. So audit trail should not have been disabled or deactivated, and the controls that should be there to ensure that the user IDs are assigned. If there was any changes to the configuration of the audit trail, then it should be authorized. Then access should be disabled or restricted. So firstly, the audit trail feature should not be disabled or deactivated. Then the user ID should be there. If there is any change in that, it should be proper log of it must be maintained. Then access to the audit trail is disabled or restricted for the people. Then periodic backup is also that. So this is to be ensured. Next, our favorite question: what are the factors to consider to analyze the cause of high employee attrition rate? So why so many people are leaving? So job stress and work life imbalance, wrong policies of the management. So job stress and work life imbalance, wrong policies of the management. Job stress and work life imbalance, wrong policies of the management, unbearable behavior of the senior staff. Job stress or work life imbalance, wrong policies of the management, unbearable behavior of the senior staff, safety factor, limited opportunity for promotion, low monetary benefit, lack of labor welfare scheme, whether organization has properly qualified or experienced personnel. There is a number of people employed at various work centers, excessive or inadequate. Does the organization provide facility for staff training? So all these things is to be checked. Fine. Now, what are the aspects which the external auditor will consider with regard to the internal audit function? So, firstly, he will check the organization status. So, whether the internal auditor is taken by an outside agency or by the internal audit department itself, and the internal auditor report what he is giving. Fine, all these things he will check. Then what scope of the function is of those people? So what is the scope of their coverage and everything he will check. Then what is the technical competency, and are they having due professional care? So these are the important pointers with regard to internal control. Thank you. All the best.